Hello everyone, I am Dr. Sivadas Madhavan, Associate Professor of English, Soda University. I am going to talk about the variables in research. Variables are the concepts, the ideas, or the thought a researcher deals with in his research. When you hear the title of the research, you come to know the concepts, the ideas, the thoughts. That is variable. Variable, the term etymologically means that which varies. But here in research, variable stands for a quality or quantity that varies. An example, if you say, the more the merrier, in that proposition, there are two variables. The more, the merrier. If you get more, you are happier. That's the meaning. So if you get more, so getting you can manipulate and the result will be merrier. You will be happier. So the first one is independent variable and the second one is the dependent variable. So independent variable is manipulated to get better result. So independent variable is the cause and dependent variable is the result, the effect, the cause and effect relationship. Independent variable and dependent variable have cause and effect relationship between each other. Or in other words, in simple terms, independent variable is the influence or it is the cause. And dependent variable is the result or it is the outcome. Or in other words, independent variable is manipulating. You can manipulate. The researcher manipulates the independent variable and dependent variable changes. So dependent variable is always depending on independent variable. In a research or in an experiment or in a test, what the researcher does is manipulating the independent variable and he gets the result. Result will be dependent variable. See, for example, we can say the attendance and test score are related to the class schedule. If it comes like that, what does it mean? Class schedule. Class schedule is the independent variable. If you change the class schedule, result will be different. That is, test score will be different and attendance will also be different. So in that case, attendance is a dependent variable and test score is also dependent variable. Because you change the class schedule. If you make the schedule on Sunday, many people will not come. Sunday is a holiday. So you have to make it an appropriate time. Then more students will come. If more students come, there will be better attendance. And if there is better attendance, there will be better test score. So test score and attendance are dependent variables and class schedule is the independent variable. But one thing, a researcher must be very careful about his variables. Sometimes the variables can be changed. You can use a dependent variable as independent variable or an independent variable can be used as dependent variable. Here, for example, in this case, attendance can be dependent variable or it can be used as independent variable. For example, if it is independent variable, you are manipulating attendance and you will see the result. So there the concept is different, not as it was in the beginning. So otherwise, you can do the other way. Class schedule can be the independent variable and attendance can be the dependent variable. So it's up to the researcher. The person who conducts the research must know how the variables operate. So the operational definition, the conceptual definition of the variables must be correctly done by the researcher. Otherwise, the research will be wrong. If the variables are wrong, research will be wrong. So it's a very tedious task, especially in quantitative research. A quantitative research cannot be imagined without considering the variables. In a title, sometimes there will be many variables. Not only these independent variables and dependent variables, there can be control variables. Control variables are the variables which are not at all changed. It will be constant, it will be the same, but they will have some effect on the dependent variable. See, for example, time or place. See, in some researches, see, take the example of this attendance and test score and the class schedule. Here, if you consider the time, let us say a student studies for 2 hours in the morning. If he studies for 2 hours in the morning, that will be more effective than his efforts in the evening for 2 hours. If a student studies for 2 hours in the evening, maybe he is tired, so his efforts will not have the expected results. But in the morning, it will be very good. So in that case, you can say, or in some other places, for example, in countries like Libya, if the exam is in summer season or the classes are in summer season, the effect will be different. If it is in the winter season, the efficiency may be better for some students. If it is in the summer season, it may be better for some other students. So you have to decide the time exactly. That means the time should not be changed. When you conduct an experiment or when you conduct a test, the time factor cannot be changed. If you change the time from morning to evening or from summer to winter, the result will be different. So you have to be careful about control variable. Control variables will have an effect on the dependent variable, but there is no manipulation of control variable. Control variable will be as it is. There will be no change in it. And some other, and at the same time, that must also be decided by the researcher. Researcher has to take care of it. And similarly, there are some other variables called intervening variable or mediating variable, etc. Intervening and mediating variables, they are the extraneous variables or they are the confounding variables. Confounding variables means they disturb. See, for example, if you take the example of the student's admission, the factors that affect the student's admission, take the proposition, the factors that affect the student's admission. Here, the factors that affect can be the independent variable. For example, there can be many factors like education, gender, age, competency, etc. Competence, I mean. So, the competence of the students, age of the students, the gender of the students, etc. will influence the chance of getting the admission. So, students' admission is the dependent variable. Independent variable you can manipulate, age you can manipulate, you can change. That means different age students can come, or competence of the students can also be different, it can be different, or the quality of the students, their ability can be different, etc. Their educational background can be different, etc. So all these are the factors that affect the student's admission. So the education, the previous education or educational background, age, gender, competence. So all these can be the factors that affect students' admission. So students' admission is dependent variable. But at the same time, here there are some other variables which come as intervening or mediating. For example, the parent's status. Parent's status will interfere. For example, if father is a well-known politician, or if father is a well-known person, he can influence the admission of his children. Or sometimes some children may be talented in sports. If a student is talented in sports, he will get preference. So that will also come as an intervening or mediating variable. So intervening and mediating variables will also be there. So we have to consider that also. Otherwise, there will be errors. That errors like the validity and the correct approach, or the genuinity of the research, etc. So for that you have to take care of all the other types of variables. And there are so many other variables. Actually variables are divided into different types. Based on the data scale, you can have different variables. That means there can be numerical variables, there can be nominal variables, etc. The data types are different. There are different types of data. For example, data is the unprocessed information, and information is the processed data. So data is represented by the variable. So variables must represent different types of data, whether they are numerical or nominal or ratio, etc. They have to represent them. So there are different types of data. And a researcher has to take care of all these different types of variables to conduct the research in the correct way, without mistakes or without errors. That's all about the variables in research, and I will come up with another topic next time. Until then, goodbye. But I have a request to you to send your comments, like, and subscribe to my videos. Thank you.